real 25 years old. What they talk about combos? What they talking about, man? I ain't been back 12 hours yet. What up?
Venti. We bring the Venti out here. Shit looking type slick. I don't know, Black.
He was your man, like on the side, like on the side, just he was not a rapper at all.
Right.
So when Ballin' took place, and I'm looking and I'm going, oh, he having a moment. That's the Lloyd Banks. That's Lloyd Banks.
I remember this real talk. I was on probation at the time. My probation officer was like, come down to probation or we gonna lock you up on Thursday. I'm like, what the f I did? And New York City Intel was there. And New York City Intel said, what's going on with you and 50 Cent? I said, it's some music shit. What the fuck you talking about? They said, well, this seems like it's one. I said, yo, he puts people out of business. I gotta respond. I responded to everything I love. I told you. So I'm like, yo, the man puts people out of business. You gotta say something. Then one officer's like, yeah, he does, man. He does. So that's just on me. Y'all gonna talk to him? Like, yeah, his flight is later.
50 Cent just took action. Slick then left it spinning while attempting to determine what struck them. Finally speaking up, Camron is now disclosing what actually transpired behind those closed doors. This isn't a trivial argument. Money, loyalty, and legacy are all colliding headlong in this situation. After years of drama, betrayal, and those fleeting "we're good now" moments, Cam is now revealing the true state of affairs between him and Def Jim Jones. He clarified that this was never simply a case of friendship gone awry. This had to do with control, power, and who was in charge. He explained everything. How he worked tirelessly for years to ensure that Joel Santana and Jim Jones had every chance to succeed.
Look, I always wish Jim the best. I hope he does well. He came a long way. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, we all did, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Y'all bros.
No, I want to tell you something. I'm talking about just from not being my man. You gotta realize this is my man who couldn't rap. It turned into my hype man. It turned into an artist directing videos, so his hustle is impeccable. As far as me for the Diplomat, the question is this though. You gotta think about this, Bleak. We put out our first mixtape probably 2001.
24 years ago.
Yeah, the album came out in 2003. So you sit there and say, okay, 2001 to let's say we broke up 2007. Even if we give it 2008, that's a 6-7 year run. Music was just so powerful. The logo was still, people just love it. Our first reunion, I'm talking about after we broke up after the Devil, was in 2010.
Yeah.
The first reunion show we did. If we can't get it together now, it's been 2010 to 2025. So the reunions and arguments and fighting's been 15 years. The run was only...
It wasn't charity. It had to do with business. Mixtape agreements are transforming Diplomats into a dynasty in Harlem. Cam wore that whole brand on his shoulders. Every action, hustle, and headline that went into creating something greater than rap. And now he's finally stating it out loud after forgiving all the blood, sweat, and loyalty. Too many people have forgotten who founded the empire they currently occupy. Additionally, Cam revealed heavyweights like Dame Dash used to warn him. Bro, slow down. Do not hurry the bag. Cam, however, was not wired for endurance. Dipset became more than just a rap group when he stepped on the gas.
On a diet. He need
It
to get his life
developed into a
together. He
street
need to go to the
empire,
doctor
a
and
brand,
get him
and a
physical. He
complete
look terrible,
cultural
bad
movement.
body, back
History
ass.
was made
He
by
look
such
big around the
unwavering
neck.
determination.
Waist look crazy.
However,
I'm
it
body
also
shaming
planted the
this.
seeds
You
of
heard?
conflict that
He need
have
to go get
remained
his
ever
get on the
since.
treadmill, do some
Those
push-ups, do
cracks were
something.
always
You
there,
heard?
waiting
Especially
for
if
the
you playing-
ideal opportunity to pop. Even when the crew appeared flawless for the cameras. And 50 Cent entered with a chess move that completely turned the B upside down. Just as it appeared that Dipset may finally get back into rhythm. When no one else believed him, Cam explained everything, even how he rode for Jim and Jewel. He was direct in his statement. Cam persisted in battling, filming videos, landing deals, and making sure the entire group ate, even though people didn't consider Jim to be a legitimate rapper. He even remembered that Dame had said to him, "Cam, you might want to slow that down. You're going too quickly." However, Cam wasn't designed to coast. He was designed to win. He was outworking everyone and creating something greater than rap, while others were relaxing. Making hits wasn't the only goal here. Power, survival, and setting the pace so quickly that no one else could follow were the main concerns. Cam's entire energy has changed. He isn't looking for the past or reliving the good old days. The play part is being rewritten by him. It all comes down to ownership, development, and growth. The emphasis isn't on who wore the most eye-catching jewelry or the sexiest verse.
With Jim, I didn't get him his first deal at Koch. Like, I got the single, the artist deal at Rockefeller. I went to Kevin Lyles and Leor to get the joint venture deal for Jewels and the Diplomat album. Then Dame just came and started flipping to him like, you ain't doing no deal with Cam. If I would have came and asked you for this deal, you would have told me no. So I ended up going through Rockefeller, Def Jam for Diplomats and Jewels when it was just going to be Diplomat, Def Jam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but Dame went up there flipping out on Kevin. And Kevin Lyles, I remember sitting there, he's like, Dame, I don't make money off albums. I get paid a salary. I don't give a fuck if it goes to you, Def Jam, whatever. So, but back to the Diplomat thing. Look, I always wish Jim the best. I hope he does well. He came a long way. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, we all did, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Y'all bros.
No, I want to tell you something. I'm talking about just from not being my man. You gotta realize this is my man who couldn't rap. It turned into my hype man. It turned into an artist directing videos. So his hustle was in.
Who has the ability to create wealth for future generations from their legacy. Additionally, if you actually listen, it's obvious that Cam is 10 steps ahead. He is occupied with creating the future, while everyone else is still attempting to go back in time. Cam didn't only speak. He revealed the depth of his riff with Jim Jones by tearing the curtain open. And believe me, it weighs more than anyone could have ever guessed. The entire story was conveyed by the intensity in his voice. Every statement was laced with suffering, pride, and the unvarnished truth. Supporters are describing it as one of Cam's most candid and genuine interviews with Dipset. And they are entirely correct. Before we even start the tape, leave a comment below and click the subscribe button because what Cam reveals next will alter your perception of the Dipset legacy forever. This was more than just a bad friendship. It had to do with ego, loyalty, and the price of achievement. Is the point at which Brotherhood turns into commerce. Nothing in hip-hop reveals genuine loyalty like money. Cam was clear. Dipset was more than just a group of rappers. It was a movement, a brotherhood, and a brand that grew out of the grind. However, the foundation began to crumble when that brand began making actual money. He explained it flawlessly. After a 7-year run that altered society, engaged in a 15-year feud that would not end. Consider that. The repercussions were twice as long-lasting as the celebrity. Cam himself stated that the first mixtape became popular in 2001, but by 2008, everything had fallen apart. After that, every reunion only served to reopen the wounds. It's more than simply beef. That teaches you for the rest of your life how pride and wealth can convert loyalty into collateral harm. Cam never played the victim, though. He kept it firm. Friendship and business simply stopped lining up. And the Brotherhood also fell apart when that did. However, he arrived with introspection rather than resentment. He acknowledged that he put in a lot of effort to help Jim and Jewel close business, record films, and establish the Diplomatic brand from the ground up. And Jim worked hard as well, becoming a self-made boss after being Cam's hype man. There was no finger-pointing here. It was development. A reminder that while ambition has the power to establish empires, it can also sever the ties that bind them. Cam has laser-focused vision now. He isn't replaying the past or pursuing nostalgia. He is changing who he is. It's fresh capital, fresh strategies, and a more expansive outlook. He is demonstrating that clinging to past glory is not the path to true power. It's in leaving behind new traditions. Cam continues to stand tall despite all the commotion, turning every setback into leverage. The story of the Dipset just changed. It didn't end. If you pay careful enough, you can see that Cam is already teaching the next generation how to transform suffering into wealth and legacy into empire. Then there is 50 Cent, the man who changed the entire rulebook rather than merely playing the game. His most recent action not only rocked Dipset, but it rocked the entire culture. 50 taught everyone that timing and strategy are always more important in hip-hop than bars. Every move he made was deliberate. From making Gunna a multi-million-dollar machine to branching out into TV, movies, and alcoholic beverages, Instead of being a gamble, each deal was a chess move. He wasn't looking for easy money. He was creating a system that provided for everyone in his vicinity. People don't only talk about music when they mention 50's name because of this. They discuss longevity, ownership, and empire.
There was a time where Jim had did a show with 50, and I think...
I remember that concert.
Right, and I think the way 50 answered the question got Jim mad. But I'm sitting there saying to myself, I think it'd be on the time me and you on right now.
Yeah,
we can't talk about,
that.
we can't talk about, but the way 50 answered the question, it got Jim mad and it riled him up and he went on tangent for 4 or 5, 6 months. Still to this day, I guess he's still upset. But I didn't mean militia out of it. I really want to know,
What it was.
how did you get niggas to go fuck with you when me and you beefing? And me and Joel's and Jim, not saying we was beefing, but we wasn't on the same page. So it was a real question for me. And, you know, Jim got mad about it and still upset to this day about it. But I'm never going to say never. But at the end of the day, if you got to think about it, the disputes, the arguments, the reunions, is 15 years old, and the run was 7 years old. I don't know if it can ever go right. You know, he got records dissing me earlier this year, whatever. I don't really pay no mind. People send it to me. But you got to think about it. He put a song called Our Frenemies in like 2000.
That's what separates becoming a legend from remaining popular. The Dipset legacy was broken by Cam's latest revelations. Exposed, revealing the KOs concealed under the pink coats, diamonds, and Harlem bluster. Beneath the surface, business became war, and brotherhood became business. 50 people were the first to see it, like a general observing his adversary's self-destruction. He saw the pride, the fissures, and the stillness before taking action. 50 was stacking assets and flipping stock while Dipset was occupied with discussions about royalties and credit. Power wasn't the only thing he rapped about. He learned it, Mundiized it, and stammered it. That was what set him apart from the others. 50 transformed aspirations into weapons. When the 2000s first began, Dipset was unstoppable. The streets, the swagger, and the sound. The cultural epicenter was Harlem. But there was a silent civil war going on behind all of that accomplishment. As the architect who transformed street celebrity into corporate power, Cam was a visionary. Jim Jones, meanwhile, was growing his clientele, managing performers, starting his own businesses, and establishing himself. The split started at that point. One brand, 2 leaders, and too much ambition to occupy the same position. And Ryder's focus reached its zenith. 50 intervened and completely changed the course of events. 50 wasn't watching, you see. He was learning. He observed Dipset's disintegration and used their failure as a business model. 50 was acquiring real estate, signing production contracts, and establishing a business outside of the booth while Harlem was fighting for position. He didn't simply remain in the music industry. He took over the company. Because of this, 50 is still changing years after so many of its peers faded out. He was never constrained by nostalgia. He had already begun constructing his next kingdom, while others remained confined to reliving their best years. Nobody wants to hear that lesson. Those that adapt not only survive, but also take the lead in this industry. In addition to changing the terrain, the power movements of the 1950s established a new benchmark for independence. He demonstrated that branding chains, phony allegiance, and convoluted politics are not necessary for significant success. Cam appears to be taking notes at this point. He acknowledges that some of his previous actions were motivated more by pride than by a sense of purpose. He is demonstrating how combining business and brotherhood can destroy aspirations. There is more going on here than just Cam calling out Jim. He is breaking the trap that has imprisoned artists for many years. Because in hip-hop, planning is what creates legacy. Although loyalty may win you love. The fact that the entire story was made public only makes it more painful. This beef wasn't silent. It was a major cultural event. In real time, the industry witnessed the transformation of 2 Harlem titans from comrades to enemies. Every drink, every subliminal, and every interview seemed like fuel on an open fire. Cam had created Dipset from the ground up.